Good evening. I hope you are connected to us. Heather Stanford from Stanford Gould coming to you live this evening. It's just gone 7 o'clock and I hope that you are joining us to catch the second part of this Facebook Live session talking about using the contracts and how to get the most out of them. For those of you who are joining, if you can press the like button at the bottom just to say that you're here and I can see who's actually bothering to have a look at what I'm doing. Alternatively, if you've got a comment that you'd like to make, you can drop it into the comments box at the bottom of this video, and if I don't deal with it during the course of the live, then I'll certainly come back to you at the end of the live to say, to give you hopefully some advice. Thanks, Peter. I'm glad to see you're on the stream. You're contractually obliged, so that's always it's always good to see one's husband is viewing. And hi to everyone else. So, if any of you tuned into the last one, you will have seen me talking about 5 reasons why it's utterly essential that you have a client contract. Terms and conditions, a user agreement, you can call it anything. But I went through some reasons why it's really important that you have one of those in writing. And if you go back to the videos on the page, you can see that again. It's a bit long. I'll try to be a bit shorter this time, but being short and sweet is not one of my fortes. So I would really appreciate if you want to have a look at that. Do. This is really a video about what you do when you've got your terms and conditions, your client contract, lovely and shiny, branded. You've spent your money. You're really pleased with what you've got, and you think, what do I do with it? What am I going to do with it now? I don't know when to use it. Does it have to be in writing? Can I send it on email? Do I put it on the website? All these questions, and they're really important because you can have the most fantastic set of terms, brilliantly drafted by a really hotshot lawyer who, you just think is the bee's knees, and this thing looks great and it covers every eventuality. If you don't use it right, it's pointless. Doesn't become incorporated into the arrangement with your customers or your service users, and for all that time and money and effort that you spent, you're going to acquire nothing. So, at the risk of running a bit of a legal like seminar 1 for contract law for beginners, ABC, there are 3 things when you create a contract that you have to have. You must have an offer, someone must accept that offer, and the third thing, there must be something that lawyers call consideration, which in very simple terms is that someone must act to confirm that that's what has been agreed. Now, I could talk forever, and lawyers can talk forever about all of those 3 things, and there have been books written about each one of those things, volumes and volumes. But in essence, an offer is, I would like to purchase those widgets from you. You counter with that, I'd love to sell you these widgets. Here are my terms. And then the customer says, thank you very much, I'll purchase them. That's the acceptance of the offer. And consideration in that very simple scenario might be they pay you, or they pay a deposit. Now, that is real simplified version, but in essence those are the parts that you're looking for. Some sort of offer, probably a period of negotiation when that goes backwards and forwards, a point at which that offer or some version of it is accepted, and then there is consideration. Now, for normal people doing, what you do day to day, the important part is that you incorporate your terms at the start when you make the offer for your services. So for me, when someone rings up and says, I would like you to draft my terms and conditions, I say, thank you very much, I'll send you an email confirming what I'm going to do, and I attach the terms and conditions at that stage. If they come back and say, thanks, Brill, please crack on, that's the offer has been accepted, the contract has been concluded, and the terms have been incorporated. It is super important that you do this at the start, and you do not do it later on in the contract. So if you attempt to send it when you send your invoice, or you attempt to send it halfway through when suddenly someone's not paying, you think, you should remind them about money, perhaps. Or you try to change when you're going to complete the job, and you think, I'll just drop some terms in now. Forget it. Too late. They are not incorporated. You have wasted your time and money creating them. So, Provide your terms at the start of the negotiations. Be careful if someone, and this is highly unlikely in a retail scenario, but if you're dealing with another business, that this can happen quite often. You provide your terms and say, I'm going to provide this service. And then the other party says, thank you very much, we'd love to take these services. Here are our terms and conditions. And you tootle off and off you go. This is sometimes called by lawyers the battle of the forms. And it's where you've got competing sets of terms and conditions, and it's about which one prevails, which one applies. Now, just to make things difficult for you, because lawyers never want to make it simple, in that scenario, the set of terms that was last applied in the negotiation is the one that prevails. I told you it was going to be interesting, but I didn't tell you it was going to be simple, did I? So, be careful when you've got people who are competing on sets of terms. For most people that will be watching this, running their businesses, you're not going to have that scenario. You're just going to have to make sure that you send yours early. You don't get anything back that looks like anything trying to compete. I get often asked the question, do they need to be signed? Do they need to be hard copy? Do you need to get someone to write their name? Do you need to complete it somehow? And the short answer to that is, in an ideal world, everyone would have a written contract with a hard copy, with a signature on it, sitting on a desk that they could wave at someone when a dispute or a conflict arose and said, look, you put your name on it, you're bound. The real world that we all work in, people, says, from my experience, you could send hard copies to be signed forever and a day. If you got 1% of them back actually signed, in order for you to crack on, you would never get any work done. So there are risks with not having a signed document, but you have to weigh them about the business efficiency and getting on with the job. So generally what I tend to do is I attach it at the start, as I've said, and then and I'll put a clause in the terms that says, if you accept and instruct me to progress, you have accepted the terms. You don't have to, but that's sort of a bit belt and braces. But if someone, having received your terms, having made an offer to provide them with services or goods, says, yes, please carry on, those are deemed to have been accepted, and that's probably as much as you need. If you can get a signed version scanned back to you, good luck. I've tried. It's quite difficult. So I rely on the email exchanges to show that they've seen them, they've accepted them, and they've instructed me to progress. And that works quite well. I would suggest if you had a really big contract that was worth a lot of money, you might get someone to sign on the dotted line. I would. But in most standard transactions, the pace at which we all work now, and email and the internet just doesn't really resolve itself to that. So be careful about that. You don't need to get them signed, but you do need to have them incorporated. It doesn't matter if they've not read them. It doesn't matter if they didn't understand them. It doesn't matter if they don't have a PDF reader on there and they couldn't open them. You sent them. It was up to them to open them and view them and ask any questions. Really important message, do not send them on the back of your invoice. Do not send them on the back of your dispatch note. Do not send them in the box with the kit that you've just sent out to someone who's just bought it. There's a reason why on a website purchase, you purchase, I don't know, something from Marks and Spencer's or John Lewis or something. You get to the payment page and you fill all your details out, you put your card details in, and then you press the buy button and the little thing flashes red at you and says, you have not accepted our terms and conditions. There's a reason for that. So you tick the box, you press pay, and bingo, you've purchased some horrific flowery Mac. I don't know, whatever it is that you bought. But you have to have accepted the terms and conditions before you can pay. And that's their way of ensuring that their terms and conditions are incorporated into the contract to buy the goods. And your position is going to be exactly the same. So you might have a website sale which requires terms and conditions to be accepted. Then you've got easy and clear evidence that someone has accepted it. For most people, you'll be dealing with email exchanges, and you'll need evidence that you sent that email with the terms and they accepted it and instructed you to progress. So you'll see from this that a lot of what I've talked about isn't actually about the content of the contract or the terms or how fair they are or whether they're binding or do they satisfy this regulation. This is a process question. So what's your process? So when someone contacts you and says, can you help me with this? Can I buy that from you? What's your process? Do you have a standard proposal document? Do you have, is everything bespoke? Is some in writing? Is some on the telephone? Do you confirm what you say on the telephone in writing? These processes are things that you need to think about quite carefully. Take some advice about what your contract says, as per video last week, and when you send it to someone, and how you use it as per video this week. Now, did something similar to another group quite recently and had lots of questions when people saying, oh, I do this and I do this, and is that okay? I'm more than happy to answer those. If you just pop them in the comments box, or you drop me a message through the Facebook page for Stanford Gould, be happy to try and help you out. But have a think about how robust your process is. Make sure that you are doing everything you can to protect yourself and your business, and to some extent your customer as well, because it is a two-way thing, as I said last week. Contact me if you think that there's anything that we here at Stanford Gould could do to help you. I hope you have found this helpful. Also, finally, if you have any suggestions about something you'd like to hear me rabbiting on about, from a contractual perspective, obviously, you know, a work thing, a professional thing, and not, you know, what sort of tea do I like and where did you get that jumper from, Heather? If you've got something that work related that you think would make a good conversation, would make a good Facebook Live, would make a good discussion, always happy to see your posts on my Facebook page. Pop on as a visitor, drop me a line, make a suggestion. If it's too rude, I will be deleting it, but if it's quite sensible, I'll give it a go. It's been lovely to talk to you, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.